Welcome back, everybody, to the Who Do You Like Here podcast. Joey C-Note with me this week. The kid is back, so that's glad to have you back, kid. How you doing this week?
Good, other than fighting the snowstorm, but it's nice to be back. I feel like I haven't done this in ages.
Yeah, with the hiatus from Thanksgiving and it's been I think almost 4 weeks since you've been on. So
yeah, Thanksgiving, getting sick, family stuff, obviously, a lot on the plate as of late. So it's nice to be back, though.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. It's hard to do the podcast just talking to yourself into the camera.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, but the nice part is that nobody could reject my picks last week. So
I never reject any of your picks.
No, I know you don't. But all my picks were the only ones we could go with. So and I did, I think, pretty piss poor. So 1 for 5 last week. On top winners at least. 3 out of 5 for the pick 5. But it's good to have you back so that we can bounce some of these conversations off that kind of pair us out so well. We do have a guest coming on today. So Jareth's going to be joining us here in a few minutes, from Fairgrounds, and he's having a fantastic meet. Always like having Jareth on. He's been on 4 times now. This will be his 4th time.
Yeah.
Come on the podcast. One of the easiest people to get along with, and one of the nicest jockeys we've had on for sure. Easy going.
For sure.
Yeah. So we'll be going back to the Fairgrounds this week. We're going to do the 6, right? We're going to change it up a little bit.
Yeah, pick 6. Get all the big races in. Yeah,
a lot of so last week they had the Louisiana Stakes Day races. So they were a lot of non-graded stakes races. And then this week they've actually got some non-graded stakes races. A few big ones though, which we're kind of excited about. And but then it ends up with a maiden race. So whether you do the pick 5 or the pick 6, we're still finishing up with a maiden race.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
2-year-old maiden race, mind you, too. So but let's go ahead and bring our guest on here. Like I said, we always love having Jareth on. Straight from the Fairgrounds, Mr. Jareth Loveberry. Welcome to the podcast, buddy.
Welcome back.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
How you been?
Always we're just talking about how much we appreciate you on.
Oh, of course. I appreciate you guys.
First off, what a great day today was.
Oh, they're running today. That's always good. It's always a good feeling.
Yeah, if my calculations were correct, 3 for 4 with a second.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
That's quite the
absolutely
day.
Great runner today. Yeah, quite the day.
We were chatting back and forth earlier, and I think it's just obviously you knew you were coming on the podcast, so you had to show out for the podcast, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was actually thinking about that when I was getting ready. I was like, man, let's do this for the podcast. That was pretty funny.
I love that.
Yeah, something to hype it up about for sure. You had obviously you had 3 big winners today. One of them was for Larry Ravelli, and I know that you guys seen a lot when you were at Arlington, and I haven't seen. He gets a lot of horses at different tracks. It's kind of spread all over now. I know he used to be more in Illinois and Hawthorne, but when you're getting those mounts, the one that you had today, he still runs the speed horses. It looks like.
Yeah, he trains that way for the speed, but this horse I've been on him a few times, and the way he ran today, he'll stretch out. The way he sat and just off of it, he wasn't too speed crazy. He broke there near the lead, but he's going to be a good horse.
Yeah, like I said, I like when you're on the Ravelli horses. Not that I don't pay attention to your mounts, but I pay closer attention when you're on Chris Black or obviously Larry Ravelli horses. I really dig in to where they're at. It's paid off in the long run a lot of times. Yeah.
For sure.
That was, still the legitimate strongest angle I think I've ever seen in horse racing was you and Larry Ravelli at Arlington. It was just bet that horse. Doesn't matter who it is, what horse it is.
You ride Ravelli, you know you're live.
Yeah, Arlington was great. That was still wish it was here, obviously, but
no, I know it's terrible.
It's great to see the connection bleeding into Fairgrounds and Churchill, and see you guys obviously flourishing.
Yep. Yeah, he brought a lot of better horses down here this winter, and it's paying off so far.
Yeah, for sure. So on Saturday, go ahead.
A few of them. I was going to say, I've seen a few there's a few trainers that are bringing a little more horses to the Fairgrounds and Oaklawn. I think some of these trainers are stretching their legs a little bit and expanding into these different circuits. So it's kind of good to see. Not that I don't like usual suspects where you can kind of handicap a little easier. But it's nice to get a little variety of good trainers coming.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, on Saturday I saw that Ravelli's got a horse, one of the races, and I see ET's on the mount. And I was wondering, like in my head, I was like, do you guys just like rock paper scissors on who gets the mount there, or like how do you guys who gets them out there? Obviously, the connection's on both, you know.
He's ridden that horse for a long time and done very well with it. But I don't know if that horse is running. He ran last week at Turfway, so I don't know if he's coming down here or not.
Yeah, he might not.
Oh, so he might not ship.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay, we thought we'd get the inside scoop on that one.
I mean, I can't say for sure, but he's probably not going to be here.
Okay. Well, good to know. Hope you don't have him on your ticket selection there, kid.
I might have to pivot. No, I don't know. How's the track been though? How's everything going down there? Obviously, you're having some success down there. You're doing well, but how's the track playing overall? How's the colony?
The colony's great. I mean, Jose Ortiz coming down here makes it really tough, but
yeah,
I mean, you've got to ride the horse that you're on. You can't really change that. But no, everything's been really good.
Yep. How's that transition?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I was gonna say, any way you can get Jose to maybe give up a few of these mounts. He seems to be getting on all the live horses down there a lot.
He's on a lot of live ones, but I mean, I'm winning my own races, so I mean, knock on wood, and everything keeps going the right way, and we're winning races, so that's all you can. That's all you want.
That's right.
I was gonna ask, how's the transition been? Obviously, a little bit of a different dynamic in the jockeys room, and I'm sure probably from a connection standpoint, when you get more jockeys in there, obviously you gotta kind of weave your way into getting some good mounts. So, like, what's that been like for you guys?
It's been pretty good. Been down here for 4 years now, so knowing a lot of the people and been winning races here for a couple of years. So,
right,
you get pretty good opportunities when you're in the top of the standings. So, I've been fortunate enough to have good mounts. So, pays off.
Yeah, it's been working out. Hard work pays off,
Yeah.
The track bias early on for the turf turf's been a little different than I think what it typically was. It used to be a lot of closings. You get a lot of better opportunity. It's still, I'd say, probably swinging that way. But how is the turf conditions down there from last year? Because I heard there was a lot of moisture over the course since the last meet.
This year, I mean, you don't want to put yourself in a bad spot, but it's not very good.
Okay.
I don't know what they've done to it. It's been good for a few years, and you hear what they did this or they did that, rumors and hearing things, but I don't know, the root system, it doesn't feel quite right. There's a lot of horses that are just not quite getting a hold of it, so that's why you see bigger spread out races. You usually turf racing, you see 1st to 7th is 2-3 lengths. Now you're seeing horses win by 4 or 5. So hopefully they can figure something out with it, but it's not the greatest right now.
I wonder if it has to do, was it last year they had the bad like hurricane or tornado or something like that kind of tore up was that last year or was that 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago? Okay, so I was like wondering if maybe it's still recovering from that, but I mean,
no, last year was really good. No, last year was really good.
Interesting.
Yeah, the meet's fairly early, I would say, in the meet when we're talking.
Yeah, we ran 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, and we already had extended rails going on. So, just weird that we would already be positioning, 15, 20 out from the rail, the extended rails, just because the turf's starting to get tore up really easy.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Churchill Downs.
Yeah. How was the turf there? I mean, obviously.
This fall, I rode there for a couple of weeks in the November meet, and it was great. It ran it was very firm, and everybody that I've talked to, it's been really good so far.
Yeah, we were looking at some pretty bad turf for a while there, obviously, and then taking all the races off was a couple of years ago. But from what I could tell, it looked a lot better. And
it was
I didn't hear any complaints either. So,
yeah. You what's the plan? I know we got a while here at Fairgrounds here, but what's your plans looking like here for the future here over the winter?
Hopefully ride some winners here, and it just keeps continuing for next year. You never know where this game can take you. Maybe you go back to the East Coast, maybe go to Churchill, to Colonial, or Churchill Ellet. You just don't know. maybe Chicago gets their heads out of their asses and gets something together. We go back home. I got the family, wife and kids there. That's sports 7 days a week, and I love to be there watching them. So if they could figure that out there, I'd love to come home.
Yeah, we chatted a little bit about the kids playing hockey. Obviously, it's got to be rough when you're not there to be able to watch all the games. And how often are you getting back, or how soon do you get to go back and visit?
I'll go home Christmas and then try to go home every 2 weeks after that. But good thing with technology, they have an app I can watch the games live on my phone. So that helps a little bit, but it's not being there.
Yeah, I totally understand. Nothing like being there live, but it's kind of part of the job, right? I mean, there's got to be a little understanding.
Yeah. Especially when you're winning at a clip like this. I mean, it's I would have been complaining. I'd be like, "Hey, this is great."
I mean, it helps, but it's just nothing like being home. You know that.
Oh yeah, no kidding, no kidding. What position do you got him playing?
So right now, my daughter, she plays left wing. Actually, they probably both play left wing because my son's left-handed, so they put him on the left.
Oh, and your daughter plays too.
Yep, she had her first goal their first regular season game, and
nice.
That was incredible watching that, and that was pretty special. I could win. I've won a lot of races, but man, watching her score that goal, that bring a tear to your eye.
Oh, I bet. Really what celly did she hit after? Did she do anything crazy after she scored?
She just I don't know if she realized it went in right away, and then because at the angle she was at, she didn't quite see it because it went through the goalie's 5-hole.
Sure.
And they all jumped up and jumped on her. The other girl, so there's 2 girls on the team in a co-ed, and she jumped on her back, and it was pretty cool, very special.
That's awesome.
You got to show her some of those moves, like when you win the big races and you do the fist pump or down on one skate or something with some kind of, just that when you go home over the holiday.
That's right.
She could ride the horse. You just put the stick between, and then you just do the job. There it is.
There you go. Give it a couple of these.
Give a couple whips. Yeah, that's
a good one. That's perfect.
There you go. We're already helping out. We're contributing. Pretty awesome. I know you've got some dinner reservations here, and I don't want to hold you up. I know
you're good.
We could probably be on here for 25, 30 minutes.
Right.
Races on Saturday. We're going to be covering Fairgrounds, obviously, and going through some of the races here. I did have a question. So Brittany Vandenberg has a horse that you'll be riding in, I believe, in the finale, which is in the maiden race, Yinzer. And,
no, that's Steve Asmussen.
Was it Asmussen? Oh, I thought it was Vandenberg's horse.
That's a good-looking horse.
Yeah, so one time out, have you getting any time with this horse prior to, you getting any workouts with it or?
No, I haven't seen the horse. Actually, so during one of the races today, he was in the paddock schooling, and I just had a glance at him, and I'm like, man, that's a good-looking horse right there. And as he was leaving the paddock, and I was coming back in after the winner's presentation from that race, because I saw it again, and I saw the nameplate on the halter, and I said, Yinzer. I'm like, oh, I'm on that horse. And I talked to Scott Balazzi. He's like, that's the horse that you're riding. He looks like he could be a good one. So he's a good-looking horse, but I haven't been on his back yet.
Okay. I was just saying, 84 debut, 84 speed figure was pretty impressive. And, you expect, I always expect when looking at handicap some of the races, you're going to get improvement second time out. So, anything over that in capable hands as yourself should be a pretty good, chance of winning that race. So I was kind of leaning on you to kind of single my last race here, possibly with any insights, but we'll see what happens.
Well, that's the insight. He caught my eye without me knowing who it was. So, he's a good looking horse.
Well, I like that you like him without even being on top of him. So I'm going to take that as a vote of confidence here when you go through the handicap and stretch. And Mike Maker, I see you're getting a few more mounts from Mike Maker. So something changed on that relationship. I know you've had mounts from him before. Just seems like I'm seeing you a lot more on these Mike Maker horses.
Right. Yeah, he started last week, put me back on horses again, and had a win in a second for him in the last week. So hopefully they keep rolling.
Yeah, that helps, right?
Yeah.
Builds a resume,
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So from I guess just for, obviously it's a handicapping podcast, so everybody wants to know an angle. I guess in your opinion, right, you ride in these races, where ideally because you're probably handicapping the races as well, obviously, where would you look for the most success at Fairgrounds from betting on like a like the dirt surface, right? Like where would you look as like that's probably the better angle to go against as opposed to others?
A lot of times early in the day, speed on the rail's tough,
Mm-hmm.
and then later it's kind of more balanced. And
Sure.
I'd say on the turf, I mean, it seemed more speed lately here, but I mean, there's been horses coming way out of it too. But the turf's been kind of hard because some of them are getting hold of it, and then you
Right.
see other horses that just aren't.
Yeah,
It's
that
like
tells me.
it'll scratch your head. You ride a turf
Yeah.
horse, and then they're like, "Why is they not getting hold? Why are they not getting hold of it? It's a turf horse." I don't know. It's been
Yeah.
pretty hard to pick out which ones you think are going to run on it and which ones aren't.
It's
Yeah.
funny you say that too, because I was watching a couple of races. I forget when it was, and I forgot who I was watching or who I had, and like it looked like they should have been for sure like just an easy ride, and they just kind of like faded back. So I mean,
Yep.
it would make sense if just the horse didn't take to the track, because like I was really scratching my head. I'm like, you didn't even move on that. Like it's telling me something. I just don't know what
Yep.
it is, you know. But that makes a lot more sense when you see some of these horses that just kind of fade back and don't do anything, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, if you have a speed horse and you could see them get close, I mean, at least a horse within the first couple lengths, like 2-3 lengths, maybe not on the front, but just within tactical speed. But that's probably where the best angle is, probably on the grass.
Yep. So that tells me spreading all the turf races and then really hone in on the dirt is kind of what that
Yes,
tells me.
I think so.
The 8th race on Saturday, you have the one Mischievous Rogue. That's the Brittany Vanderberg horse that I was going to mention also. So
Correct.
on this one specifically, I'm at a battle
also
between
going to scratch.
Also going to
Oh,
scratch?
it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh no.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you know of that scratching? Can we just get the early scratches for Saturday right now with Jareth?
Those are two that I know of. That's what my agent told me this morning. So.
Okay.
Oh, man.
All right. Good to know. Because, well, I'm going to still ask my question here because the 1 through 3 posts, when we're talking about turf sprints, the 1 through 3 posts are winning inside rail positions on these turf sprints, and closers are winning more so now as we go on the meet. It seems on the turf that the closers are winning in these sprint races more than early speed. And this was an interesting race because if I'm looking at if I'm handicapping correctly, there's some inside speed to the inside, but I don't really see any closers on the outside. So that's where I was going with this to see how you would position maybe with the one, but
they also moved the rail in, so it's all fresh dirt, or turf, whatever they call it.
The hybrid, the Fairgrounds.
So it's all fresh ground.
Okay,
on the inside right now because they took the rail in. So that's where they won today. Actually, they won 2 of them on the rail today. So
okay, good to know. Maybe this transitions out for what we're looking at on Saturday. Yeah.
Yep.
Any mounts coming up here that you're really excited about on any major race days that you're already aware that aren't scratching right now?
Well, the one that you mentioned, the Yinzer horse, he's a good-looking horse, and they said they liked him. So I'm looking forward to riding him, actually.
Anything in future weeks here? I know we've got some other big race days still coming on the card for the meet.
I can't really pick any out off the top of my head right now.
Okay. As we get closer.
Yeah. Okay.
Give you
a for sure. Hey, I like this one.
Yeah, just text me once in a while. I'll be like, I really like this one. I mean, I'll take anything I can get at this point.
we gotta get some sort of signal, some hand signal. Like, this is the winner.
Yeah,
top,
like when you readjust your goggles, like twice, put them down and back down. Oh, that's the one. Well, we can't really share with the podcast here. We'll have to get something down here. I don't know. I'll tell you, there was a story where I used to go to Finger Lakes as a kid. I don't know if you're familiar with that track in up in New York. And there was a jockey that, I'm not going to throw the name out there. There was a jockey when he would be in the paddock and riders up and he'd get on. Every time he put his whip under his arm, he'd tap it with his finger. And I mean, maybe I'm just looking too deep, but every time he put it under and tapped it, he won or at least hit the board. And I'm like, I kept watching him. And then some days he'd just hold it and he'd be messing with the reins. I'm like, he's not doing anything. And he wouldn't hit the board. Even with like a mid favorite. And I'm like, And my old man and I would always do the conspiracy theories, like try to find something. And we were at the track one day, and this jockey, there was a holdup in the paddock area. They were going out to the track. I think a horse acted up, so they stopped. And everyone's looking at the horse that's acting up, and my father and I were looking at this jockey. And I swear, dead eye look, and he mouthed the words. I mean, I'm probably like 14 at the time. And he mouthed the words, bet me. And I looked at my old man, and he looked at me like, did he just, and maybe just gave me a look like, hey, I'm gonna give it a shot or whatever. So I look back at him, and he looks at me, and he kind of opens his eyes, and he's like, bet me. Like nobody else is looking at him. Like, then they take off. So me and my dad are talking, and we both agree. My brother thinks we're crazy that no way that horse, he was like, I think 30-1. His name was Matthew's Moment. And it was a great horse. And he broke the gate dead last. My brother starts laughing. He closes and wins the race by about 4 lengths. And we cashed. My brother was the only one that didn't cash. So I'm into the whole someone selling somebody something. But it was a great race. Yeah.
It was like a nervous tick, maybe.
It got me hooked. That was me hooked on.
There you go. Yeah. Great.
Well, obviously, we gotta touch on your Detroit Lions. Obviously, I mean, this is
man,
we got to talk about it because they are amazing.
No, they are great
right now. Yeah,
but they are also very injured.
Yep.
Yeah.
22 on the IR. Oh my gosh.
Yep. I got to say, hand up though. I'm not a fan of Dan Campbell, even though he's crazy. Like I think he's just too crazy for me. He's like, going for it on 4th down at your own 30. I'm like, what is this guy doing? But I mean, biggest balls in football.
But he's got them. He hasn't bought in. So I mean,
yeah.
They play for him.
Yeah,
they play for him. They trust him. He trusts his guys. I mean, that's what you want. I mean, if they say, "Hey, this is our team," it's not like he's done it this week and the next week he doesn't. He's not wishy-washy about it.
Yeah,
he's straightforward. He's like, "This is what it is. I trust you guys. We're going for it. Let's go."
Exactly. And he cries a little bit too much for me. Just a little bit too much, But other than that, great coach. But
no, they're at the line, man. I bet him to win the Super Bowl. So let's see if we can get some of these injuries, some of these players back.
Did you get good odds?
Not great. I mean, I think it was plus 800.
That's pretty
okay. I would expect that to go down. They're one of the powerhouses.
They were down to 3.
Well, now they are probably.
They were down like 310, but they're probably back up now with some injuries. Yeah, but they're down to plus
Montgomery is big.
Yeah,
tell me about it. He's on my fantasy team, so I mean that. I don't want to talk about that. I don't even want to talk about that. That's not even. But yeah, Jared Goff. I mean, he's playing like a different quarterback ever since he came to Detroit. I mean. He was good, and he kind of went a little bit of a slump in L.A., and then next thing you know, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. So
yeah, they're a hell of a team.
Yeah, for sure. So you got to be excited about that. You keep winning at Fairgrounds. It's shaping up to be a great year for you.
I hope so.
Nothing but positives.
That's right.
I was going to say they played Buffalo last week.
Buffalo.
Yep.
And that was a very back and forth game. Nobody played defense in that game.
No, they didn't. Yeah, that's where the injury is really catching up to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Do you still play Minnesota at the end of the year?
The final game.
Yeah, that's going to be that could be a very big pivotal game.
Yeah, that will decide the division and probably the number 1 seed.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Philly's the only other one I think they're talking about being. The experts.
Philly's right there too, but I think it's gonna be between those two, Minnesota and
I think so too.
Detroit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I love watching Detroit, play against the Packers, and all these Packer fans just cry, like, oh, we played against Detroit, even though everybody wasn't scared at the beginning of the season, and now they're like, oh, So it's been great here in Wisconsin.
This is one state where when they lose, they never expect their team to lose.
No.
In Green Bay. They think they're going to win every game. They've been spoiled with quarterbacks for 30 years, and they don't know what it's like to struggle.
I don't think they're spoiled this year in this contract. I think Jordan Love is not great.
I think there's an argument there, though. Maybe Jareth can answer it because they have the best 4 losses out of anybody else. I would say
Yeah,
they
that's
lost
true.
to Detroit twice, Minnesota once, and
Yeah.
who's to Philly too? Is that their
Yeah,
fourth?
I think it was. Yeah,
I think
No, I
that's their
don't
fourth.
think
it was
No,
Philly
they beat
at the
Philly,
beginning
right?
of the season. No, it was Philly at the beginning of the season.
was it.
That first game.
I know
first game of the year.
In Brazil.
Those 3 teams, the Minnesota, Detroit, Green Bay, their record outside of the division is unbelievable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's insane. Yeah,
Yeah, they're just
Yep.
losing to each other, basically.
Yeah, basically, pretty much. Yeah.
So yeah, Green Bay, they just figure they're going to win every game. So when they lose, it's it's fun for the kid and I to go to work on Monday. We already know everyone's going to be really quiet on that Monday morning.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty much. But Jareth, I'm going to let you go here and get to your plans for this evening. Again, fantastic day today. We were watching. We got the first one out the gates. We were like, all right, he's got one to come on the podcast. 3 out of 4 in a second. Absolutely fantastic day and a fantastic meet so far. Keep up the hard work.
Thank you guys.
Keep riding hard. Yep.
Thanks a lot for coming on. Yeah, really do appreciate it. And
Happy
have yourself a good
holidays.
Christmas to the family.
Thank you guys. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
All right, thank you, my
Sounds
friend.
good,
Take care.
Thanks for coming on.
Bye.
See ya. Good old Jareth.
There he goes. It's always great. Always great. And like I said, I mean, it just made it even that much better, winning 3 out of 4 races in a second. That's like as good of a day as you can possibly ask for. So,
That's a day. When I saw him win the first race, I'm like, oh, that'll be cool. We'll be able to talk about that first race and the ride. And then all of a sudden, 3 out of 4 in a second. I was like, man, we got a lot to talk about his mounts today. It seems like he's getting good.
I was going to say, I really wish we would have connected when he was at Arlington because that would have been just so much better, to actually like get to see him. Obviously the podcast was so early on, but it would have been great, but it's kind of cool. And I appreciate the connection that we have with, our kind of native roots, I guess you could say, we've got a guy that's kind of even though it's in Illinois, it's kind of like our hometown guy riding at the big tracks and getting some big wins out there, so.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
It was always fun to go to Arlington. It was always fun to see, just the track itself was one of the best tracks. We've talked about that a million times, but the opportunity that you get to meet the jockeys before because they go through the paddock and have to go through that walkway to the jockeys room.
Yeah.
Obviously, Declan would be our main guy that we would always see. And
we
were just starting the podcast was just new and fresh.
Starting to
steamroll. I think one more year, or had we started that a year ago in like 2019, or at the end of 19, beginning of 20, that would have been, more of an opportunity. We talked to Rocco Bowen and some of those other jockeys, but we never got an opportunity to really just sit down and talk to Jareth.
Yeah, and it's funny too because, like I said, it was like literally the best angle literally the strongest angle I've ever seen in horse racing was when those two link up. They're going to the front, and 9 times out of 10, it felt like they're going to win. But for me, the way I bet, I'm always on the other side of the pillar. I'm like, I got to beat the horse. I can't go against and take a 2 to 5 on top. I've got to go and find some value somewhere. But so it may have scratched some tickets for me, but knowing what I know now, it was obviously the wrong move.
Yeah, I remember at your house for your birthday party, your poker game, your annual poker game on your birthday, that I was losing in the game. I think I was halfway through the night. I was taking a bath in cards, and it was Jareth and Block.
Yeah,
he said, Jay Love's on Chris Block horse, and it was like 4-1, and I'm like, without hesitation, bet cash. Like that was the easiest bet ever to play. So, Jareth's been having a fantastic year this year. He's had a lot of good years.
Yeah. He's been consistent pretty much, ever since he moved his tack, obviously since Arlington went, a little bit of a climb, trying to get the book a little bit stronger. And now that, you're riding out there, consistently, it's grown to what it is now, like you said,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I mean, the cool part was that we really established a relationship, had him on a few times during the time where he was in the Kentucky Derby with 2 fills. And that was one of the most exciting times.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Having him the week before, as well as Larry come on, and wear the podcast shirt at the position draw. That was one of the one of our best times for the podcast. It was extremely cool for him to do that. And man, just if he could have won that race too, would have been life-changing also.
Yeah.
You know, you want to win
Yeah,
that Kentucky Derby.
it's like if you went to school with a guy that's going to the NFL, you know, it's like you pull for
Right.
that guy always because it's like, you know, your hometown guy, you know, and that's Jareth, that's Ravelli, you know, that's the connection that you pull for. It was obviously Declan when he was riding. You know, still pull for Rocco, even though, you know, he's kind of on his other, you know, parks that I don't watch too often. But, you know,
Yeah.
when he's at Oaklawn, you know, I always pull for him to do well, just because anytime I see a guy at Arlington that you know, we met up with, it's an auto, like, just you're rooting for him, even if it tears up your ticket, you know.
Yeah.
So,
you know, I think that's what I said last time we were on. We were talking about Fairgrounds. You know, Marcelino Pedroza, who also ran at Arlington, like he manages to get and knock me out of some tries and some exactas, and he rides very strong too. It's like the colony that was at Arlington was some of the best riders, really competitive. It was a very even keel. Nobody ever really ran away with anything at that track. You kind of knew where you guys were at, and everybody had a day at some point. So I think that also helps out for Jareth because, like he said, though, he's riding against Jose, and Jose's having a monster meet right now.
Yeah, he's doing his thing. Obviously, you know, that comes with the territory when you get one of the Ortiz brothers. It's the same thing if Saez was riding out there. You know, they're going to get the top mounts, and you got to compete with the guys that are getting that established business. You know, it's the same thing with Churchill. And, you know, if you ride out there for a couple of weeks, you know, Tyler and Saez are getting the best guys. So you just got to race with what you got. And, you know, again, to get wins against those guys on horses that maybe aren't, you know, the highest touted or the highest class horses in the race, that definitely speaks to the capabilities of the jockey and how hard they try.
Yeah.
So
it's
I mean, it's great.
Saez is at the Fairgrounds this week.
Yep.
Yep. So I'm assuming Tyler's got to be at Gulfstream.
He's going to be at Gulfstream. He's doing well at Gulfstream. He's doing really well at Gulfstream. Irad is kind of running away with it right now. Irad's got a shit ton of wins. And then Zayas has got a few. I think that's like the top 3 at this point. Last time I looked, but
that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know,
that makes sense.
Top jockeys there.
Obviously,
and I haven't really paid attention to Oaklawn as much this year.
Yeah, I haven't looked at Oaklawn. I usually don't look at Oaklawn that much. It's too much of a crapshoot for me. You know, it's large field, which is great. You know, and it just doesn't fit my betting structure because I like to hone in on one horse and, you know, kind of short in the middle and then all at the end. It doesn't really make sense for me, but
and that track gets really wet. You get a lot of sloppy tracks there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really.
But if you want prices, or if you're chasing and you wanted to go and, you know, try to win some of your money back, you can go put, you know, a 50-cent try out there for like a $10 bet and win all your money back in one race. That's just how crazy it is out there, you know. So Oaklawn is definitely a money track for sure. Yeah.
And Turfway.
Turfway I stay away from too. Yeah, Turfway you miss me with that. Yeah, you miss me with that one.
Yeah. We got some handicapping to do. We're going to be doing the Fairgrounds for Saturday. We're going to do the pick 6, which we haven't done a pick 6, like I said, and I can remember the last time we did it. Matter of fact, I think the last time you even played a pick 6 was one that you it was right shortly after you hit a pick 6. So maybe it's a good sign. You got fresh eyes coming in.
Yep.
Maybe it's a good sign. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. Obviously, I've you know, a little rusty. I haven't been here for a couple weeks, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to hurt you. Like I said, I think you got fresh eyes coming in. So let's go ahead and we'll start with the race 7 for Saturday at the Fairgrounds. Race 7 is it is the gun runner. So I wanted to do the pick 5 as usual, but I mean, why leave off the gun runner? It's a small field, but I always like watching this race. $100,000 non-grade stakes race for 2-year-olds gives you a little indication of, you know, who's trying to build up a resume to make it into the first Saturday in May. It's a good opportunity here, and I always like this race. So handicap in this race, we talked a little bit earlier when Jareth was on. You know, those inside posts 1 through 3 are 54% on the winning streak on dirt routes, and Jareth even just added in there that's kind of where you want to be. Same thing on the turf. So I'm really not going too far outside of the first 2 positions. I am going to take a little chance here at the 5 to win this race. Admiral Dennis is my top pick. 91 speed figure. Last time out breaking, it's maiden for $120,000. This was Louis Size's first time on the opportunity on the horse for Brad Cox. Won that race by 3.5 lengths in a 9-horse field, and that was the first time running a route for that horse. I just like the way the horse moved really well. Fractions were decent, 22.46, a little slower than his debut, where that race had faltered out to. But I think the distance is really what helps, and they actually got this horse out to the lead, which I think was important in winning that race. I'm looking for the same kind of trip, sit back, and then gain strength of the race and then draw away. And then I'm going to go right to the inside positions with the 1 and the 2, both Render Judgment and Built. Brian Hernandez for Kenny McPeak and Corey Lannery for Wayne Catalano. Those are the inside plays. The 1 here, Built, breaking its maiden 89 speed figure. That was almost a wire-to-wire job, just a half length off. And that was beating Render Judgment last time out. So the 1 and 2 look to run the same kind of race. I just think that the outside horse, the 5, may have the opportunity here. Just a little better overall time. I don't want to take anything away from the 2 either, running the Kentucky Jockey Gold Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club last time out. Got great, late pace figures. Brian always is one that likes to sit off and make that late move, and this horse is probably another one that Kenny has that has a nice little late kick, and you're probably going to see that. Just don't think the early fractions are going to be fast enough for the 2 to run anybody down. So it's 5-2-1, probably come in any of those 3 ways. I'm going to take the 5 as an opportunity to get this race.
Yeah, I looked at this race kind of similar. Obviously, it's only a 5-horse field, so there's really not a ton of options here in this race. I actually like the 2 a lot. I like Brian Hernandez and I like Kenny McPeak here. They went obviously up to the grade 2, didn't get the job done. I think it was just a little bit too much for them, a little outclassed, right? But I think if you look at that second race, right, when they broke their maiden, I think that's kind of what I want to see. And I was listening to Jareth when he said, it's more of a balanced track later in the day, and I think that there's a lot of speed in this race where I think, speed might not be the angle for me here, which is why I went to the 2. Like Jareth said, I mean, a balanced track means I think I want to see a guy that's going to be sitting stalking, letting the pace go in front of them, and then obviously turn on the burners late. And that's kind of what they did when they broke their maiden at Churchill. And, they just sat second, kind of a length, 3/4 off, and then, ended up winning by a half length, pulled the trigger when they needed to. So I got the 2 on top here. And then obviously I've got the 5 underneath. I think the 5 and the speed, I think is the classiest horse, makes the most sense for me. But I think he's just going to run out of gas late. And then I have obviously the 3 underneath as well, with Jose, just the way he's been riding. I think it makes a lot of sense to have those 2, again, probably dueling it out, trying to get position, and then, Render Judgment taking it late. So I've got 2 with the 3-5 here. I might just get even crazier because it's only a short field. Either do a 2-3 or a 2-5 straight, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the 2
we're seeing the race shape up the same way. I actually think the 1's going to get the lead though from the inside position. I think that Corey's has a better shot with running that 21 and change fraction in that last race. Probably going to come out the gates and get the lead. But the 3 and the 5 should be right there sitting off. And I think the 2 it obviously has the best closing speed. Yeah. Again, I think we're seeing the same things. I think you can go any which way on those 3 speed horses. You go with the 2, I go with the 5. I think just sitting off, maybe moving just a little too late. But we'll see where Brian. This is a typical Brian Hernandez race, right?
Sure is.
Save ground, close with a horse that has a nice late kick, and pass them off the 16th and win by a couple lengths. So wouldn't be surprised if the 2 actually held on in this race. And
I like the price. I think what are we getting right now? 4-1, 3-1, 4-1 right now.
Yeah, and I think that's going to change. I think the class drop from that grade 2 is actually going to kind of hurt Brian's chances of getting a decent price. But if you can get 2-1 at this horse, maybe 2-3-1, I think you'd be fortunate to get that, especially in such a short field. But we'll see how it goes on Saturday. Let's get to the 8th race then. Talk a little bit about this 8th race. It's going to be another non-graded stakes race. The 8th race is 5.5 furlongs. This is on the turf. The Richard Scher Memorial, purse of $100,000 for 3-year-olds and upwards. We just got the news that the 1 is scratched, so we can just go ahead and take that off the books since Brittany's not this one out of Churchill or out of Kentucky. Probably going to be at Turfway. Talked about this again. Post 1 through 3, no wins on the inside post positions on turf sprints. Turf sprints haven't won anything in the first 3 positions. I don't see that changing. I'm still not going to see that change. I'm actually going to stick to the outside position where we're getting a bulk of the winners, and that's the 8. I like Son of a Birch, Jaime Torres, Thomas Morley. Horses, the horses have been really, really consistent in these sprint races. If you're going back to the Fairgrounds, it's really, that's kind of the race I want to see you run. Never really more than 4 lengths off, so fairly close. We're not talking closing up a ton of ground, but definitely won't be in the front set. We'll be in that second pack. And I would hope be able to get over early and save a little bit of ground. Doesn't seem to be a lot besides its immediate left here with E.T. Baird with some speed that's probably going to go. So I think Jamie Torres is going to actually get a good opportunity for where he wants to position himself for this horse. And I think you're going to see just a late move again, kind of a stalking trip, mid-pack, making that late move and then win the race. So 8-1, I like that one on top. Really bodes well for the exactas and the tries. I'm going to put the 3 underneath here. Dabab. I don't know. You see it either way you want. Yeah, it's another one here for Brian Hernandez and Edward Vaughn. Now, the problem I had with this horse is that two back, it's coming from Woodbine and then really ran grade 2 back in the grade 2 and then comes back for a 48,000 allowance condition race and really just kind of shit the bed. And that race kind of had my head scratching. Like I would have expected a better race coming in. Yep. Maybe the horse didn't travel well. Maybe it traveled late. The workouts prior to that was fantastic. So I really couldn't give you an answer why the horse kind of put up a 4th from 4 lengths and really just ran an even merry-go-round race. I can explain the 100,000 3-back didn't run so good at 6.5, but I did like that. Now it's been at Fairgrounds here and it's got a workout in 48-2 on December 14th. I'm just going to scratch that last race and still think that this horse has an opportunity to be sitting off and make a nice little late move as well. I'm going to put the 6 Minnesota Ready in there for Declan Cannon. This is another one that had a head scratcher, didn't really make the strongest move last time, and actually performed better in the 175,000 option claiming and an off track. But the speed figures last 2 times, 91 and 98, both of those were on the dirt. You start looking at the turf races that it's run in a sprint. That's the one I'm really looking at on June 29th. They finally got this horse back on a turf sprint. That was a $125,000 non-graded stakes race. Came in second with Pedroza, and then followed it back up on a route race that it didn't like in a $500,000 handicap, just a little outclassed. So it's getting back to where I think it's actually going to fit in well at 4-1. I thought it would be a little higher price, maybe like 6 to 8-1, closer to where I would like to actually bet it a little more. And that's now that the one's out of the race, I'm going to throw Ravelli and E.T. Barrett on this one with one timer. It's my last pick. If they run, that would be my last pick. If not, we got 2 horses out of that race that we can basically go ahead and scratch, which kind of really solidifies my 8 to where I like it in positioning. So 8, 3, 6, and we'll see if Ravelli runs.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So originally I had the 6 is my top pick here, and I'll explain why in a second. But I had the 6 with the 1-7, which I think if they both get scratched, obviously we know the 1 scratching. The 7, obviously, I think was one that I liked a lot because of the speed perspective. I think there's not a lot of speed in this race, like at all. If you look at this race, every horse looks like they come from behind, which is kind of something that I'm kind of scared at because I think the horse that does go out there and get the jump might be the one to catch. That's kind of why I landed on the 6 here when I was looking at it. I think even though they didn't set the fractions at Churchill Downs on September 27th, right, they were just off the pace and ran one of their highest speed figures, in the last couple of races that they had there. But was able to, keep pat. And I think, they jumped up. They obviously saw what they had, just really didn't get the job done in the last race, a stakes race at Fairgrounds. But I'm expecting a little bit different. I think this is a softer field than what they ran last time. Again, they were only off by 2 1/4. So I think, I think they're going to be very close to the front here in this race. I think Declan Cannon knows what he's got to do. Tom Amis, obviously, has got good stats in non-graded stakes races. So I like that as well. I think from a training perspective and just from the race that this horse has been in, I think, again, like I said, a little bit of a step down. And I think they'll be very, very competitive in this field. So I have the 6 on top. When I have to pivot, I like the 9 a lot. I think that James Graham, obviously, I scratch that race at Kentucky Downs. I scratch any race I see at Kentucky Downs where you're not successful because a lot of horses just maybe don't take to the track. It's obviously not your forte. But if you look at the races prior, the last 2 races, right, they're running bang up speed figures and getting the job done one of the 2 races. So I like what I'm seeing there. Colonial Downs, that race right there is kind of, a picture of what they're capable of, sitting off the speed, and then they can close like crazy if they need to. So I think that's what you're going to get in the 9 there. I like the 9 underneath. I had a big play. Like I said, from a speed perspective, I don't see a ton of speed in this race. The one horse that I see that has got given speed, but I don't think is going to win the race is a 2. Bear River at a monster price at 20-1. Yeah. I think, they're going to probably see that there's no speed. They've gotten the job done in their races when they are the speed horse and when they set the fractions. So what I'm thinking is this horse is going to go out there probably unpressed. I think they're going to run out of gas late. And that's where I think the 6 is going to come and, gobble up the ground. But I've got the 6 with the 2 and the 9 underneath in that one for me.
I like it. I really want to see. I like I said, if one timer doesn't run, it'd be interesting to see if Larry's actually going to bring him down or not.
If
Probably
one
not.
timer runs, I'll have it on the ticket. I'll probably throw out the 2 and put the 7 in. But if he does scratch, then I think that's where I'm
Yeah.
going to go.
692 for you. I'm going to stick with this 8 on top. 836. I do like that 9 though. If the 7 doesn't run, I think we're both pivoting if one timer doesn't go.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and head over to the ninth race. Ninth race, a mile and the 16th. It's the Tenacious Stakes, purse of $100,000, 3-year-olds and upwards. We start getting into tougher races as we move on, but I am going to go with the 7 Saudi Crown. Hard to get away from the class. Huge class drop here for this horse. Last time out, Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile last year in November. A lot of time off, but the workouts are really, really good right now. I like the nice easy I wouldn't say nice easy, but for this horse, 48 flat last time out here at the Fairgrounds. Takes to the surface very well. One time out over the track and has 1 win. I think Brad's just doing a nice little shape up for this horse to get him set for bigger things. So makes a lot of sense. Going to be your odds on chalk, and I'm not going to try to talk anybody off of it over the layoff. I think it fits well with these and should do well. I do like the 1 though. I'm more excited about the 1's opportunity, Track Phantom with Jose Ortiz. This is a horse that I've bet consistently in following. Didn't really get a lot of great mounts with Rosario the last couple of times out, the Kentucky Derby, Louisiana Derby. I was really, really big at the beginning of the year in January at the LeCompte. I just thought the race really set up well for it. And it's a speedster. Speed figures were great. And then you just really put in a non-existent kind of opportunity in the Kentucky Derby, got the lead and then just kind of faded back, just was outclassed. They give it some time off, obviously comes back here in November of this year, and second by a length. That was a disappointing second, in my opinion, in a race I think that was more set up for this horse to kind of get the win, decide next out. So coming into this race, I think they're really strong and they feel really well about themselves and where they are. 95 speed figure is still nothing to slouch at in the 7 for a long race, but getting back to a route is what's key for me. And Jose getting the mount is the bigger plus here, the way he's been riding and the opportunities he's been getting for Steve Asmussen. So definitely like the 1. The 2 Kinetic, listen, 4 increasing speed figures, nothing to slouch at either. 2 back in the mile on the 16th was a 142. He ran that race. Just really, really impressive. Street sense horses that have this closing ability in this late pace figure, 106 and 100 the last 2 races. Brad Cox has got himself, I think, a little bit of a monster here, lightly raced, but Godolphin knows where they're at. I think it's a great horse. It has a great opportunity actually in this race. So I think the 2 and the 1, if for some reason Saudi Crown doesn't really do what it's supposed to do, and it is, not the race we expect it to be, I think the 1 and 2 have the best opportunity, and I think you can also throw the 3 in there, Warrior Johnny, just to pick up some late figure, exotics and verticals. Always seems to be there, 3rd, 4th, 2nd position, trying to pick up some of those late place monies, and that's I think what you're going to see there. But I'm going to take the 7 on top with the 1, 2, and 3. But the 1 and 2, I think, have the best opportunity, especially if you're looking at odds. You really want to try to beat the favorite. This may be a good one to go with.
Yeah, I'm not going to get too crazy here. I've got the 7 on top as well. I think that this horse is just too much horse for this field. There's a lot of players in here, but I think, you can look at the form yourself. This horse has been all over the world, has gotten the job done at Fairgrounds. The last race this horse ran at Fairgrounds, it went up to the lead, 1 by 5, almost 6 lengths. So obviously the surface is not a problem for this horse. It's Brad Cox and Florent Giroux. You always know my angle when Brad Cox has got multiple horses and you see Florent that's riding there, Flojo's getting the top mount. So, and obviously Flojo's ridden this horse its entire career except for 1 race. So obviously he knows the horse. There's nothing really too much to be said here that you can't figure out or know on your own. If I'm playing the pick 6, I think this is one that I might even look at singling. And I think I have another leg that I want to single in as well. This 7, I think, is just very, very strong. And off the layoff, I think this is a great spot for them. It's an ungraded stakes race, and it's not too high up there for them. So I think the 7 makes so much sense that, I'd be crazy to leave it off. Underneath, if I'm playing any type of vertical wagering, I think the 1, like you said, Track Phantom, Steve Asmussen, a great horse, not getting the job done at a high clip, but I think is going to be right there down the stretch. Very classy horse, right? Is ridden in all the graded stakes races that you'd want to see. Again, another horse that goes up to the front. Looks like last race they struggled a little bit to get the lead, which is why I think they faltered late. They didn't get that easy lead like they were used to. But again, it's going to be right there. I've got the 2, just like you said, Louis Saez, the other Brad Cox horse in this field. Coming off of 3 straight is impressive. I think this is just a big step up for them. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Brad Cox exacta with this horse. Just a very, very classy horse and can come way off the lead and win the race if they need to. They can come and close a ton of ground. If you look at that Churchill race on September 19th, I mean, they were 11 back and ended up winning by a neck, right? So that obviously shows the turn of foot that this horse has. So I'll have that horse as well underneath. And then the last one I want to throw on there, because I went a little bit deep here, because like I said, I'll probably be singling here, but is the 8 Beau Cruz. So Jareth is getting the mount here for Al Stahl. This horse did not have a great trip last time out. I think they just noticed something in the race. Obviously eased up and just made sure the horse was okay. And took a little bit of time off, a couple of weeks, but obviously they found that the horse is sound and everything's okay. But I think that, if you look at 2 races back, at Keeneland, this horse definitely got the job done with Jose underneath, or above the horse. So I think it's a very, very solid horse as well. Improving speed figures, always in the upper 90s when they run their best races. I think very competitive. And like I said, if I'm playing a vertical, at an 8-1 price, will juice up the exacta or the try for me. So that's where I landed. Like I said, 7's my best pick, but I've got the 1, 2, and the 8 underneath to clean it up.
Yeah, we talked about this before. If it looks too good to be true, sometimes it is, too good to be true. The 7 just looks to be one of the most surest things you're going to see probably on the entire card for that day. I think it's a perfect spot, like you said, for this horse to come back and to come off the shelf and run. But we're going to see exactly where the horse is at. But it makes the most sense that the 7 wins this race. Not going to pay a lot, but you could probably find prices elsewhere if you want to. But it could very well be the single. Let's go to the next race. Next race is the 10th race, mile on the 16th. It is the Buddy Diliberto Memorial Stakes, $100,000 for 3-year-olds and upwards. Closers winning at 60% on these races, on these route turfs. Like, you're looking for a deep closer, someone who can pick up the pace. Problem is that there's not really a ton of closers in this race. Everybody kind of wants to stay very close. Nobody's really making up a shit ton of ground. On that note, I'm going to stick to the inside. I'm going to go with Swiftsure. 2 for 2 on 2 turf races right now. It just got claimed by Michael Maker. Louis is going to get the mount on a horse that looks much the best to be up near the front, can sit in a stalking position and winner, can go ahead and wire the field. Has some great times, and I just think really found a surface that works its best. Has been running turf for its entire life. Gets 2 turf races here. Gets off the dirt back in October at Laurel. Wins that race by 1.5 lengths. That was an optional claim at 55, moving up to optional claim at 62,000 at Aqueduct. Wins that race in a field of 11, wires them with Carmouche. And now you got Louis Saez and Mike Maker, a great combination team. They're hitting the board 46%, winning at 23% when they team up. And a horse that just looks really sound and finally found the surface that it really likes. 6 times out this year, 3 wins, 2nd and a 3rd, 2 of those on turf, 2 for 2. So I'm going to put the 3 on top and roll the dice a little bit. The 1's going to be tough too. Rather Be Blessed. This is Ben Curtis. This is probably the stronger of my unders that I really think has a good opportunity. This horse has just been missing here and faltering on the late ends on a few of these races. But if you go 2 back on November 1st, the fractions in that race, 22-1, 46-4, 110 and 140. That's the race. And it was only an 88 speed figure for that race with Declan Cannon. You're getting Ben Curtis, who's really running great, by the way. It's a Chris Hartman horse that I think Ben's getting an opportunity to show himself for. Chris Hartman, they've only teamed up once prior to that. If he can do well with this horse, I think Chris gives him some more opportunity, and Chris has some really nice horses in his barn this year. So it could be beneficial. Ben should be really trying with this horse, and it has the ability. So I do like the 1. The 2 Gigante makes a lot of sense. This maybe is your closer. I don't know. It's not going to be that far back. If you're going to call 4 or 5 lengths closing, then this is your 1 that can come off the pace. So if the bias holds true, the 2 probably is going to be your winner coming off the pace. I just don't think it's going to be that kind of a race where you're seeing someone from the clouds. But Gigante, you could do a lot worse with a horse that can come off the pace, if you want to call it, like I said, a closer. Last but not least, wrap it up. Another mystery, Brian Hernandez. This is probably your closer, 8-9 lengths off. I just don't know if the fractions are going to be set that fast. The horse is closing into 47s and 49s. I don't even know if you're going to see 47 at the half in this race, though. You could see low 48. So the way the race shapes up for me, I probably should take the 6 on top with Brian Hernandez as the deep closer to win this race. Looking for 5 in a row, winning non-graded stakes race. That makes all the sense in the world. I just don't see it setting up that race. So I got the 6 underneath as well. So rolling the dice and actually taking a front runner to hold on with the 3. But 3, 2, 1, 6, I'd like to box all these in my exotics and cash a ticket. Looks pretty solid.
Yeah, well, I took the 6 on top, so I took the deep closer here.
So you're going exactly where you should go.
Yeah. I think, again, from a turn of foot, yeah, you're racing at Hawthorne. But, I mean, this horse will come from the clouds if they need to. Can be 9 back, can be 5 back, doesn't really matter. They've gotten the result every single time, aside from one race, when they, they came up a little bit short. But I think you are going to see some fast fractions at the beginning of the race. I think that the 3, as much as I like the 3 a lot, I think that you're going to see him go out there and wheel. And I think that 1 is going to go with as well. So I think you're going to see these horses dueling early. One thing I also sold me on the 6 as I was listening to Jareth is that, right, the turf is kind of, you really don't know what you're going to get. It could take 2, it could not. One thing about this horse, if you look at it, I mean, it wins on a yielding turf, it wins on a firm turf, it wins on a good turf. It really doesn't matter what the surface is there. They run on it and they run the same way and they get the job done. And that's what I wanted to see, very consistent. Again, they're not going to be at the front, but they'll be there at the end, I think. So I like what I'm seeing from the 6 there. Again, Chris Block, right, a turf specialist, in my opinion, right, does really, really well on the turf races. And you're getting Brian Hernandez, who obviously knows his timing very well, knows when he needs to go. So I like the 6 on top. I like the 2, Gigante. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's Asmussen, it's Jose. You might see these 2 just team up and go and win this race. I mean, just for the simple fact that Jose's riding unbelievable. Asmussen's got a lot of opportunities here. I think this is a good spot for him because I think he might not get the results he wants in the earlier races, but so he's going to want to get 1 on the card somewhere. I think you're going to see Jose riding really, really, really hard. You're dropping in class from a graded stakes race. Now you're dropping down to 100K. I think there's a lot to be said about this horse, right? I think the drop in class is going to do wonders for him. So I've got the 2 underneath. And then, like I said, the 3 was my top pick originally. And then, like I said, just looking at the speed perspective, size is going to go. It's Mike Maker. He knows he's going to go to very, very, consistent in what they do. And it's a very consistent, team up with these 2. So I think they're going to be the speed. They're the ones that are going to say, go catch me. But like I said, I think that 1 is going to be the one that's going to say, well, let's see who's faster at the beginning of the race. And it's going to obviously burn them out down the stretch. So that's where I landed. Yeah. I got the 6 with the 2 and the 3 underneath.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I think that 1's definitely going to the front. Like I said, that 22 and 46 and 4 is probably going to be your dictating pace out there. And if it gets pressed, probably going to falter. Like I said, everything says go to the 6 on top, which is what you did. I'm trying to see that maybe the bias is different this time around. As Jareth said, also with moving the rail back down and getting some fresh turf. But the 6 is really versatile, as you said. So it's a great point to make. Interesting race. We're going to see how it all shapes up on Saturday, but I think we got this one nailed to the same 4 horses that we like. Let's go to the next race, race 11. This is a 1.70 miles on the dirt, the untappable stakes, $100,000 for 2-year-old fillies. Listen, we're into 2-year-olds here, so let's go with one that I think I can actually give a solid complaint with or compliment with, not complaint. I'm going to go with the 3 at 6-1. Her Laugh, Axel Concepcion for Whitworth Beckman. What I like about it, the fractions in the last race in the 6 furlong race, 21-1, 44-2, at 44-2 half, 57 flat and 110, an 86 speed figure on debut, looking for an improvement off of that. Won that race by a head, very game down the stretch. Comes into this race with a nice workout also at the Fairgrounds, 5 furlongs in a minute and 2/5. So I know we're stretching out here, first time stretching out. I don't really see that being the problem here. I think you're not going to see those fractions. I don't think you're going to get pressed that fast, but horse has a lot of balls and a lot of guts. And she really showed last time out at Churchill Downs. That was 120,000 maiden race. So the workout kind of sold it for me, and having to pick this one, you never know what you're getting on 3-year-olds, but an improvement off an 86 speed figure is better than anybody else in this race. So I'm going to take the 3 on top. Then I'm going to go mid-pack here. I'm going to go with the 4 Golden Gamble. I like the fact that, listen, it's lost to a horse in this race and then came back to win second time out. Both of those races were at a route race for Brian Hernandez, Kenny McPeak. Times are good. Speed figures are good. So I want to have that on the ticket. California Sunset, that's the one that the 4 had lost to last time on this 5. This is Brad Cox and Giroux. As we talked before, when Florent's on Cox horses, you know that he's going to actually give him the run that he needs. First time out, not really much to really go off of. 4th by 13 lengths in 120,000. Second time out the next month, came out guns a-blazing, ran them all down. That's the kind of form you're going to want to look to get back to. 84 speed figure in that race. And this will be the first time out facing winners since then. And then the 6th, Amarth, is also another one right there mid-pack. Does the same kind of race. All these horses want to sit 4th, 5th, a handful of lengths off, 3 to 4, and then make their move. First time at a route, wins with Tyler Gaffleone. You're getting Louis Saez here for Eddie Keneally on a horse out of McKinsey. So I really like the mid-pack horses, the 4, 5, and 6, and I'm taking the 3 that I think with the fractions that it run might be able to hold them all off. Although maybe she gets run down. We'll see. But I'm going to take a chance with the price on top. 3 with the 4, 5, and 6.
This is my other single for the pick 6 when I'm playing it. I'm going with the 6 on top. It's Eddie Keneally and Louis Saez. This is a combination that you see me talk and go on about multiple times, especially at Churchill. They are the real deal when they team up. I think it's interesting that Saez has got this mount. I'm sure he's got options, but this is the one he's on. First time, like you said, first time out of route was no problem for them. Tyler got the job done, and Saez got the job done prior to that. So, I think they learned from that first start that they had, right? They lost the race by 6 lengths. They finished 7th. But after that, they're like, okay, we got to do something a little bit different, too far off. Next thing you know, they went back-to-back races. So, I'm all in the 6. I think the 6 is going to be a good price to beef up what you're looking at, especially if I get Saudi Crown home. I've got the 6 here. And then I went very, very skimpy in this race. I really like this 8 underneath, so I went 6, 8 here in this race. If you watch Woodbine, Justin Stein is a jockey that at one point was a man at Woodbine. He was winning races at an unbelievable clip, and he's since kind of taken a little bit of a backseat. There's a lot of competition out there, and hasn't been doing the job that he once was. But then I look at that last race and seeing how Justin Stein's been riding, and knowing that you're getting a very hard riding Jamie Torres aboard, I think that this horse is even going to take a step up from there. So they got the winning formula. They didn't want to sit too far back. They sat too off, and then they pulled away down the stretch, and that's a decent stretch there at Woodbine as well. So I like it. I like what I'm seeing there. I think it's going to be a decent price. This is where I'm trying to get some money back anyway later in the day. So like I said, I went very skimpy, but I think I really like the 6. That's going to be my other single to have the all button in the last race, or as many as I can possibly have in that maiden race. Yeah. And then, like I said, underneath, I just wanted to go with the 8. I think that they've got some good kick that they found, as well as, Jamie putting them in the right spot. So I think, 6, 8 is where I went in this leg.
Yeah, I looked at that 8. That's funny. You went really slim. I like that you actually put that down, and that you're really high on the 6. The non-Lasix coming off, I don't think it's going to be that big of a factor. And then coming from synthetic, probably not that big of a factor. But if I have to go with anybody, I'm trying to look for something that's not getting a lot of changes in a 2-year-old race, or a race that's got, very small sample size. The less change, the better. But you could be very right. 2 for 2 with Jamie Torres and Beckman teaming up. 2 wins, two attempts. So they're undefeated when these two hook up together, and this could be another race where they actually go 3 for 3. So interesting call on that. Let's see how that plays out on Saturday. So we go through all these graded stakes races, then we go ahead and wrap it up here with a nice maiden race, 58,000, and really throw in the clunker at this race. A mile of 16, $58,000 purse for 2-year-olds. And, again, we've got a very immature horse day with a lot of 2-year-old races. And now you're getting for horses that a lot of these are first-time Lasix. A lot of these are first-time horses. Haven't seen these horses. A lot of shippers coming in, obviously from Churchill Downs. Very few actually have already run over the Fairgrounds surface. So on that note, I'm going to go with the 8 Fanatical. I'm going to take a first-time starter against some of these that have already had some experience. And what I really like about it is that the breeding suggests first-time starters, 15 and 12%, both from the sire and the dam. 2 for 2 for the dam stats, 2 winners on 2 starters. The dam was stakes placed when it was running. The workouts have been absolutely phenomenal. And I'm just going to go back to November 13th. I'm not going to go back too much farther than that, but a minute and 2 for 5 furlongs, then a minute flat for 5 furlongs. You get a nice 48 and 2 for 4 furlongs and a 48 and 1. That's the seller breezing from the gate. 10th best out of 126 on those gate works at the Fairgrounds over the track. So this is Jamie Torres and William Walden. They team up on rare occasions. This is one I really like. As far as a training debut, anytime going over a mile, the trainer's at 25% winning those races, 17% on maiden special weight debuts. So I like it from the training perspective. I like it from the jockey perspective, and I love it from the horse and breeding perspective. So I think you're actually going to get a first-time starter to be able to beat some of these ones that have had a couple trips over the track or even opportunity anywhere else. So let's put the 8 on top. I'm going to take the 3 also, limited edition. This one's getting some class relief, which I think is huge. Tyler, 2 times out on this horse. Second and third, you're getting Declan Cannon for Brendan Walsh with first-time LASIK, so I definitely want to put that on the ticket. The 5 Yinzer, as we talked with Jareth, he really likes the horse. That's an 84 speed figure, as I said earlier. Now getting LASIKs added, after talking to Jareth, probably going to bump this one up on the top of my ticket as well. So I'm going to put the 5 as well as a first-time starter on top of my tickets and all my exotics. And then last but not least, I got the 9, Seattle Road. Gets better with class relief here. So it was running at 120,000. That was at Churchill Downs in Saratoga. Obviously, this horse was purchased at a decent price. And then they dropped it down to 58,000 at a mile on the 16th at the Fairgrounds back on November 24th. You actually got a decent run out of this horse. Second place in a field of 7 with Ben Curtis. You're getting Marcelino Pedroza. He's always hitting the board in the last race. He's always live. He's 8-1. Going to be a good price probably coming in. I want that underneath in my exotic. So I'm going to make sure I put the 9 for Tom Amos also on the ticket. So let's go with the 8 and the 5. First-time starter and Jareth on top with the 9-3 underneath. And maybe have to hit that all button for third.
Yeah, so getting to this leg, like I said, I'm going to go very skimpy and 2 legs, and then get to the last one. I have as many as I possibly can. The one that stood out to me for my vertical wagering is the 12. That's Cromwell. Cherie DeVoe and Jose Ortiz. This is obviously a combination that we've seen over and over. Cherie has got a red-hot barn, coming back over from, earlier on in the year. Really made her stamp. And obviously we've talked to multiple people, and the rumblings are talking that when she's got a horse, she's usually live. This horse has taken a substantial drop from obviously the maiden 100K race that they ran last time. They just ran up against it. They lost by 6.5, but still finished third. So obviously running against some monsters there first time out. I think the class drop is really going to help. Cherie's obviously shown some very good stats, when the horse takes a layoff, right? So anywhere from 45 to 90 days away, she's got some very promising stats there. You're getting LASIKs for the first time. I think that's also going to help this horse. Obviously, if you watch the race, it seemed like it was kind of just one paced, maybe not too competitive as you'd like to see. But those other horses that were, at the front kind of ended up fading back, and they ended up scooping some of the show money. But I think with the LASIKs, with the layoff, the drop in class, you're getting the hottest riding jockey there, and Jose and a hot barn. All things tell me that this 12 is a lot more live than what the morning line obviously shows. So I've got 8-1 on Cromwell. That's where I'm going to go if I'm making some vertical wagering as my top choice. I like the 1 a lot as well. Obviously, it's Saez and Eddie Keneally again. This is a combination, again, you got to take a look at. But this horse just looks to me like it's got the second-itis bug. They just cannot get the nose down. But you can say the same thing that you said for Cromwell, where, they're taking a substantial drop down in class. They're getting the LASIKs. But they're having a really tough time finding the win column here. And they dropped down to the 71K maiden race and still weren't even close to winning that race either. So again, I think second-itis, this just might not be one of the hottest running horses out of the Keneally barn, but you're getting Saez, so he's going to make the most of the opportunity. I just think, the class drop will help. I just like my odds a little bit more on Jose, who's been riding there all winter so far, and the way he's been riding. So that was kind of the toss-up for me. So I've got the 12 with the 1, and then obviously the 5 makes a ton of sense, and that, Jareth just saying, this is a horse that caught my eye. I looked at Eddie and ride it, and I've seen that this horse looks good. They're also taking a significant drop, getting the LASIKs, everything you want there. And Steve Asmussen, they're going to be doing pretty much what everybody else is going to be doing. They're going to be sitting stalking and trying to make a move. But again, I'm going to have as many horses as I possibly can. I know Jareth is going to give the ride he needs to. So I'd be crazy to leave it off my ticket. So, like I said, as many as I can for the pick 6. But if I'm making a case for the verticals, I've got the 12 with the 1 and the 5 in this leg.
Still keeping it skinny. I thought you'd go a little bigger with a couple top things. I would think. But.
I try to handicap it the way I'm going to bet it. I'm not going to throw an exacta with 5 or 6 options. That's not what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
You're pretty much giving you my try. I'm giving you my top horse with my 2 underneath, and then I'll always hit the all button. If you see me go 3, that's just because I'm not sure of who's going to really take it there. But this one I felt pretty good. I think any one of those 3 horses I listed are going to be right there. So I like the 8 as well as everything you said there. I get scared with first time starters. It's just, it's hard for me to bet them because I've fallen into the trap of 2 starters, 2 wins. Breeding suits the distance and training well, and they get onto the track, and then it's like, oh shit, nowhere to be found. So
that's one of those situations.
My own thing.
It's one of those situations where you really wish you're at the track and be able to look, see how the horse is reacting, out in the paddock. You can get some of that on TV. If you're live, you get to look at it a little more when it comes to these first-time starters, first-time out against these horses that have already run on the track and have already experienced it a couple times. But I think it's an advantage also to have a horse that you never know how it's going to do. And when the workouts, they're exposed to other horses, they're at the track, they may not be getting these giant crowds or reacting to certain things. But when looking at that race, there's so many horses that are dropping down in class in that race that it almost makes sense. Like if everyone's dropping down to try to cash in and get the maiden win, that's when I like my first-time starter opportunities. Right. I like that better than a first-time starter who's going with horses that are running well and moving up in class. Like I don't degrade the move up in class in those situations for someone that is like been running well at 75 and now is going for 100,000. Where you've been running at 100, 120, and now you're down to 58. Yeah, you're just trying to get that win, so you're not as confident as a horse that's moving up. So that's why I like the first time. If that makes sense.
Yep, that makes sense.
But that's it. That's your pick 6. First time we've done the pick 6, like I said, in a while. That's your pick 6 for Saturday at the Fairgrounds. That's going to be it for me and you this week. It's been a long week. It's been a long month so far for the Who Do You Like Here podcast. And just want to thank everybody for all, like I said last week when I came on, like all the reaching out, contact, the texts, emails, direct messages. We're all back. We're good. We're going to keep pushing forward. We're going to keep doing the podcast and hopefully cashing some tickets and predicting out some winners. But I want to thank everybody for their time and opportunity. And really, we met some really, really good people in this business and built some really strong relationships. And it's a good feeling now going into our 5th year in doing this. So kind of excited. So I don't know, Kitty, if you got anything you want to add to that or.
No, you summed it up perfectly. Everybody reaching out, obviously had to show my face on here. I'm sure everybody thought I was locked up or, MIA. No,
it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't that. It was not that at all. But,
but it's good to get back in the saddle. So we'll cash some winners on Saturday and then on to next week.
That sounds good. We will be back next week. We'll do our last one for the year. This is the last podcast before Christmas. So wish everybody a happy holidays, Merry Christmas. We'll be back next week. And, for myself and the kid, thanks again. Good luck this Saturday. Thanks again, Jareth, for coming on. Until next week, see you later.